On this week's episode, we celebrate the liberation of Dreampunk. Join us as we discuss Dreampunk becoming its own genre on Spotify, a long-form interview with City Light Mosaic, and a deep discussion on creativity. And right at the end, we have the demo segment as always. And we'll get into all that right after our opening tune.
And this is Modcom 81 with Rise Up.
If money is evil, then that building is hell. This is the most obnoxious group of money-hungry, low IQ, high-energy, jackrabbit, fucking wannabe, big-time, small-time, shit-talking, bothersome, irritating bunch of motherfuckers I have ever had to endure for more than 5 minutes.
The following announcement has been paid for by the Canvas World Order.
It's Saturday morning. You know what that means. Time to get out the coffee and the croissants.
You said coffee.
I said, get your coffee. It's time for Saturday morning canvas, you son of a bitch. And we're going to start things off talking about your fucking name change. Why the fuck have you changed your name to Nameless, huh?
Well, aren't you going to introduce me first?
Well, I just did. You're called Nameless, ain't you?
Yeah, that's when you name Nameless, sort of.
Why are you called that?
Well, I was just editing my Twitter bio, and I changed the name from White Banshee to Nameless, so I guess that's my name now.
And that's all it is.
Yep.
All right, fair enough.
I'll explain it in greater depth at a later date.
Okie dokie. Well, the big news is that Dreampunk has officially been emancipated. The Emancipation Proclamation has been written by the George Washingtons over at Spotify. We are officially free from the vapor branding. We have our own genre now.
I honestly didn't think it'd ever happen. I felt it was going to happen like last year at some point when Dreampunk was taken off, and then after all the nonsense happened, I just sort of gave up on the idea, and I thought, we're going to be locked into the fucking vaporwave algorithm forever. Let's just try and live with it. And now, Spotify have recognized Dreampunk as its own distinct genre away from vaporwave, and it's done a pretty good job at rounding up all the right artists, because all these artists were in the vaporwave sort of algorithm prior, if any were. Like, most of them weren't in like any sort of algorithmic destination, and now
like,
all in
Dreampunk though.
Yeah. So, but I want to explain this because some people don't get it at all, and I'm like, it gets a bit annoying trying to explain it over and over again. So let me just explain it here, why this is important. So, like, on the surface of it, like most artists will say, like, who cares? It's just the algorithm, like, we don't make music for the algorithm. We make it, for ourselves and our cultures and whatever. But if you want your music to get heard in today's world, you have to comply with certain standards. Like, if you wanted to get your music heard in, the 90s, you'd have to put it on cassette or CD to get it out there. Just like today, most people listen to music either on Spotify or YouTube or Bandcamp. Like, they're the sort of big three, I guess, especially for independent music.
Yeah.
So to have our own space on Spotify is like really, really important because for the past, I say, like 5 years or so, we've been trapped in the sort of vaporwave algorithm. And like the reason that's shit is because like most people who are going to get into vaporwave are going to see the sort of top level, like surface layer stuff when they go on the vaporwave playlist and hear, just that kind of shit. And when they like, go through what's available there and they hear, Hong Kong Express 2814, a lot will drop out because they won't like really find much similarity with that stuff. Then when you sink even further and find other Dream Catalogue music, like the more experimental and abrasive and that kind of stuff, they're gonna like it even less. So, like, being on that part of the algorithm just didn't suit us in any sense, and we were like trapped there for so long. But now, like after the huge effort of like the whole sort of Dreampunk scene online for the past, I'd say like past 18 months, it's been going on and off. And, certain people have done more than others. Like, with all that effort, now we've actually got a space where like all these artists that are properly interlinked do have, sort of
we have
an
our own
identity.
space now.
Right, exactly. And like, where can it go from here? It's like day one now, basically. We've got like a space. Where do we go from here?
The foundation has been laid. The groundwork is in.
Yeah. Yeah, so like already because of this, there's a sort of auto-generated, sounds of Spotify playlist, which is interesting. But like, I think in the long term, because like playlists are so essential to how you get music discovered these days, we're gonna want to try and get like one of those official like Spotify playlists, and I think it'll happen in time for sure. It's just sort of on the scene itself now to keep things going and keep things fresh and alive. I just want to actually give a shout out to R. Kaiser, because like he's done so much like groundwork on this stuff in the past 18 months that I don't think without him it wouldn't have even happened actually. So like I think like every artist has a lot to like thank him for in this regard.
Yeah, for real. Like, because not only did he set up like the Dreampunk wiki and like a lot of stuff like around the scene, like he's keeping on top of that stuff. Like he's like frequently updating that.
Yeah, he is. Sure.
He's got it all like up to date. He's like in it like passionately, and like that's quite special, especially in this sort of fledgling days of the scene. It really does mean a lot. So, you're a real G.
Yeah, and I think like he'll be someone who has like an important role in the scene going forward. Because now that we've got this space, like where can it go? It's like it's like we've knocked down a wall and like we've got like this open land now to explore and do what we want in. And some people, they bet on the wrong horse and decided to go to vaporwave. Well, best of luck to them for fucking jumping onto a sinking ship. But
I mean, honestly, it's just one of those things where people I think that ultimately, like, there is a definite noticeable like separation in terms of like attitude from like vaporwave and dreampunk as well. Like not just in terms of like the style,
No, it's so
the
distinct.
music,
Yeah.
but like the personalities too. Like the actual people who get attracted to dreampunk. It's like a totally different audience now. There's like no crossover. It's its own thing.
It's like
dreampunk stands.
Yeah,
alone.
it's like drifting off now. Like it's like, you know, like a piece of land is split from the island, and it's like drifting off on its own now. And you know, who knows where these things can go in the next like 2, 3, 5 years. What does your mum think of Dreampunk? Well, it seems like Shima's gone on mute to deal with his mum though.
I'm sorry about this. We do have other news.
When are you? Yeah, speaking of news, when are you moving out? Because you keep talking about it, and you know, it's a long time.
We've hit a roadblock on that one, to be honest. So like,
that's disappointing to hear.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I can't break through. Like my mum got me on a thing.
Yeah. So anyway, what's
so
next?
other things in the news that we've got. Facebook went down.
Yeah, that
Facebook
was
went completely offline.
That was quite an interesting story, actually. Do you want to sort of elaborate on it a bit?
Yeah, so basically a document came out in, I think it was like some kind of court that proved how dangerous like Facebook, Instagram, and generally social media is to like mental health, especially for children and stuff. And in order to combat this document coming out, quite a lot of people believe that Facebook and Instagram pulled their servers down like intentionally and make that the main story. Facebook's saying that it was a faulty server configuration, but the timing is just a bit too coincidental for my tastes.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate on why it happened because I don't think we'll ever know. But I think like the effects of it were actually more interesting than why it happened, to be honest.
Yeah, didn't like billions of dollars of like stock value get wiped and shit?
Yeah. But like, you know, I think, you know, they'll probably buy that back up soon enough, so that's probably not a big deal. But what was most interesting to me was just the sort of effect it had on people. Like I actually went out walking while it was down, and it's I don't know, maybe it sounds a bit like boring because like these sites do go down often, but I think, I don't know, there's something significant about this particular event because it was down for quite a long time, and you know, there were rumours that people like the Facebook staff couldn't even get into the server rooms because the key codes were tied to the, you know, the whole Facebook servers themselves or whatever. I don't know. There was like a lot of, you know, rumours flying around, and it seemed like, you know, was Facebook actually going to be deleted forever? And like the reaction to it was what was most interesting to me. Like one thing I
didn't
noticed
seem to really know what to do without it. Like they seemed kind of like lost.
And then a lot of people like felt like some kind of liberation. I felt like, you know, a sort of breath of fresh air. Like, could Facebook actually be gone from our lives? Imagine how good that would be. Like, a lot of people were thinking like that. Because we're just sort of, like, we're just used to these things now, like Facebook, Twitter. They're just, like, commonplace. And, like, the idea of them actually just disappearing one day is, it just seemed very refreshing, I thought. And a lot of other people seem to react that way too. And it just shows like there's this sort of like underlying desire to get rid of all these platforms and a lot of people, I think. And it's
all these
like
corporations, all these brands, all these labels.
Yeah, and we just sort of put up with and live with, but like there's like this sort of buried deep desire to not live with them. That sort of came out. That really interested me. One other thing that interested me was I was like walking around town at the time, and everything just seemed a little bit off kilter because, like for example, one scene that I witnessed was like I walked past a taxi rank, and like all the cabbies were stood outside their cars talking to each other, which this was at like 10 o'clock at night or so, and I found that really unusual because especially at that time of night you wouldn't usually see that type of thing going on. But it's like these people would probably usually be on WhatsApp at that time of night while they're sat in their cars, and like just because that habit was broken, you know, they had nothing else to do but get out and talk to each other, which was I just found that like kind of funny.
Wouldn't that be refreshing if all the social medias went down? We have to actually go outside.
Yeah. You have to actually be a human being.
That's crazy. That's such a novel concept.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Hopefully, people will be coming off of their like computers and shit more, because electric prices have hit an all-time high. In the whole of the European Union, electric has never cost as much as it does right now. And holy shit!
I don't know what's going on. Like, there seems to be something dodgy is going on behind the scenes, so to speak.
Let me explain this, because I've actually read like a specific magazine that was like an oil like industry magazine that explained this in detail. And the basic gist of it is, so far this year, there's only been about 60% of the oil produced that they'd usually get in a year. So there's that. On top of that, Norway basically provides 2/3 of the EU's oil, and Russia is trying to strong-arm them into building a pipeline that connects the two. Yeah. And they're basically saying, if you don't agree to this deal, we're going to cut off the oil to the European Union. And that's what they've done. And that's what's resulted in the thing. The lack of oil to begin with, and also Russia kind of bullying Norway, who's like the biggest for the EU. Yeah.
I don't really know all the exact technicalities of it, but it does seem like there's a lot of, you know, aggression going on in all these markets around the world right now that, I don't know, like, we're probably not privy to the full extent of it all. And I don't know, just seems like
think people
strange
like,
times.
realized how much they took like having electric and gas and all this for granted, you know, just having it like readily available. And now
like in Europe, like blackouts aren't uncommon. It's like, you know, like especially in Mediterranean countries like Italy and Spain, it's like fairly common to experience blackouts in electricity and stuff. But we don't get that here, so it's quite and especially with like the rise in price going on now as well. I don't know, it's just like, I don't know what
my mom said the last time that we had a blackout was in 1975.
I don't know. There's probably been some brief ones since then, but maybe not like a big one. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because she was telling me all last week that like
it's like could we even cope with a blackout now, since we're so much more reliant on a lot of technology and such.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people might be able to handle it for like a day or maybe two, but after like
all of our systems are so like intertwined with technology and the internet now.
Oh, you mean like completely like no electric like at all?
Yeah,
for the whole of the UK.
Yeah, I mean like there's there's obviously like going to be like emergency reserves for like set for like specific places like hospitals.
Yeah, like diesel generators and stuff.
I honestly can't comment on this stuff because I've got no idea, to be honest. I'm not educated on it at all.
It'd be insane. Like,
pretty scary.
I'm just trying to imagine it. I can't even picture it. But yeah, we've got I think that's all of our headlines that we've got covered now. So we'll hit a tune and then we'll get into an interview with our main man, City Light Mosaic. Speaking of which, this is City Light Mosaic with statues. That was Statues by City Light Mosaic. And speaking of which, we have the man himself on the horn with us, the owner of No Agreements. City Light Mosaic, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing chill. I mean, it's a Monday when we're recording this.
Yeah,
And,
it is.
It's just kind of... I feel like everyone's got kind of like just sleepy vibes.
Yeah, it's like a really gray, rainy day here. So,
Yeah.
Blue
Same,
Monday.
same.
Yep, typical. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're I mean, doing pretty good.
So your music's been blowing up and getting quite a lot of attention as of late, especially this Restless Ego record getting
Yes.
attention here.
Yeah.
And it's cool because like in terms of like Dreampunk, you're still like on the outskirts of it, but listening to this record, like there are like definite like I feel like there's some spots in here that are definitely like Dreampunk, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, so prior to getting involved with Dreampunk, I was working on a lot of like psychedelic pop influence sort of stuff, actually, is the weird thing. I was like a big like Animal Collective fan, and I originally was like experimenting with like weird ways to like do vocals that were less traditional. And anyways, funny thing, actually, I've never talked about this, but I found DC because forever ago, like I want to say this was 2016, I had made this album, and I was dating somebody at the time, and it's unreleased and whatnot, but basically I accidentally made, I guess, what people would call a Dreampunk album at that point, because I didn't even know Dream Catalogue actually yet, and they told me to submit it to you guys, and I ended up, I was like, I don't know, and they introduced me to it, and I was like, what the fuck, like this is like exactly what I was trying to make. And it was a really weird moment because I had accidentally made like material in that area, so it really is like Dreampunk's kind of just a natural extension, I guess, of the kind of stuff I was already doing. It just happens to be a genre other people are working within. And anyways, I guess from that point forward, I started listening to a lot of stuff within the scene, and it really, I mean, it started out originally with just stuff like, the first album I listened to is Remember's Route Back Home. And then from there, it led into, stuff like Birth of a New Day. But I think the release that actually really, and this was like, I had taken a break from it, but what made me go back to DC was actually the Pillar New Sun EP. I fucking love that. It's like one of my favorites.
Oh, cheers, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
On Warp's like singles in print, but yeah, I guess that would have been like January 2018. I remember.
Yeah. So, anyways, but yeah, long story short, so
no, I can actually, sorry to interrupt you, that I can actually hear that in your album, actually, because your album, Shima mentioned it's got a Dreampunk influence. Like, I wouldn't call it Dreampunk, but like, there's obviously like elements of it there, and obviously like Exequi features on the album too, who's pretty involved in Dreampunk, and then. But then like you've got like the house influence, a bit of like metal, hyperpop, all sorts going on, which I think that's interesting because like your label is quite similar in that regard. You know, it's like a web of influence and seems to be taken from all over the place. So like, is there like a sort of interlinked philosophy there between like the way you approach music and the way you approach your label and all that kind of stuff?
I think that my philosophy is always evolving, but I do think ultimately, I think that there is, but I think it's just naturally because it's the way I work. I mean, I approach pretty much all artwork I do with the same sort of mindset, and I actually consider curation like a pretty big art form of mine. Like it's similar to the same thing as like DJing. Like, you know, you're taking
I agree
artwork. Yeah. You're taking artwork and you're recontextualizing it within a greater net of other artwork. And the same thing when I'm working on an album, like I have all these features of musicians that I've met. And so I'll listen to someone and I'll think about like in the context of my music, like how would theirs function potentially? And anyways, like when I'm working on my album, like I'll be working on a song idea, and I think although I have a decent amount of pride, I think there's a certain thing that I've learned to do, which is just to be like, okay, personally, like I'm not really like when it comes to on a technical level of music, even like that skilled. Like I'm just like pretty good with like the production angle and like the overall songwriting. But there's just a moment where I'll be like,
the whole thing. Do you mean like sort of like a director in a sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so there's just a point where I realize I have, on a personal level, done as much as I can with this.
Yeah.
But I still think like there's more that could be done. And because I've like met so many different people, I just sort of like go through like mentally like a list of people. And I think, who is it that would really just fit the role here like perfectly? And then I will just send it over to them. And once I like stumble upon them, like with I Said Yes, like I had been working on that with Andrew, who did the guitar bits on it. But then I was like, I need another vocalist on this. And then I reached out to Murmur, and I was like, I think you'd kill this. And they loved it. So they hopped on it. And like, I mean, they really brought the best out of that middle section. Like they just completely hit it out of the park. So
yeah. I'm not just saying this to like blow smoke up your ass or anything, but it's like legit like one of the best albums this year. I think I'd put it like probably my top 3 albums of the year so far.
I'm really happy to hear that because I mean, I talked to you about this, but definitely certain elements of like Dragon Soul and Charming Devil were like influences on some of the material.
No, it's pretty cool. It's definitely cool to see that. And I feel like a lot of like the No Agreements like scene, if you want to call it a scene, it seems to be like a scene to me anyway, from the way I look at it from the outside. Like, it seems like, you know, there's a lot of like sort of like younger talent there who, you know, probably grew up like following internet music like Dream Catalogue and other stuff like that, and now it's like you've like grown up with that big web of influences, and now you're sort of all just bringing it together into this like one, you know, kind of I guess like melting pot of sorts.
Yeah, I think also like, for as controversial a site as Rate Your Music is for some, but one thing that I do think that it has actually really helped with is how accessible it makes a lot of very obscure musical movements from the past, and like how easy it is to find things that, say, 10, 20 years ago, you really had to work to get your hands on. And now it's just sort of really opened up a way to find stuff and to really like challenge yourself musically. And anyways, I mean, I'm one of the older people in the group. I would say I'm pretty certain I'm like the second or third oldest member, and I'm 24. So
it's a pretty young generation.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, I was growing up kind of at the transitional point of the web. Like when I was like first a kid, stuff like Yahoo Music was still a thing, but I also was like there for like the very beginning of YouTube. But I'm at the oldest point of the group. So you have to think like everybody else is like below that. They when they were first like becoming lucid, so to speak, they like YouTube was already a thing. Like they've completely grown up around that, and that's definitely really influenced the content that they've ingested. And I think that that's just going to be a theme that you see going forward in general. But I think one thing that helps us all is that we've all found one another, which I think, you know, a lot of people struggle to find that little pocket for themselves.
Well, this is also interesting because, like, even though you do have that sort of, you know, combined internet music background and, you know, radio music and all this stuff, like, at the same time, you try to take a lot of it offline, which is quite interesting. Like, you do a lot of sort of videos that, you know, you like to be in and around the city, which I think is really cool because I always like saw Dreampunk that way. Like a lot of people see Dreampunk as like this kind of like sci-fi cyberpunk thing, and I mean, it's got that element to it for sure, but like I always saw Dreampunk as more like being right in the present moment, like within the city, and like that was my life. Do you know what I mean? Like being in the big city and so on, sort of being a bit of a outsider with the hood up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, but so it's kind of like it's interesting. Like what you're doing is like, even though you've got like this kind of internet scene and label and stuff, you're also like trying to like pin it down into the real world and doing a lot of like outdoors stuff, which is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely. I also want to say, I guess, in regards to a lot of the sci-fi themes, I mean, I do personally think a lot of the best Dreampunk material is a lot more down to earth. I would say that there's some material that kind of messes around with those futuristic sort of like atmospheres, and it works really well. Like one that I will always sing the praises of is Halo Acid's work, which has always, it's like, I described it to my friends that I was trying to sell it on. I was like, it's like having an anxiety attack in a futuristic club.
Yeah, that's like, pretty spot on you.
It like, and I think a lot.
It's interesting because like that really comes from Halo Acid's own like anxiety and such, actually. So, and he's someone, he grew up in the middle of London, and like that's his whole life too. So, it's not like some kind of romanticized idea of like this big city dream. It's more like the living sort of. I mean, it's sort of romanticized, but it's like a romanticized nightmare of sort, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's more like there's bits of beauty that like peek through the chaos.
Exactly.
Which I think.
Yeah.
Because like he uses a lot of trance elements, but then he'll have like this percussion that's just like fucking so abrasive and out of control, and but it'll reach these like mellow spots, and it just like. I don't know, just like pacing wise and thematically, it has a really good balance. Another word I've used to describe it is it's like a forced blissful feeling. Like you're getting a feeling of bliss, but it's against your will. So it's like really conflicted. Like you've been
drugged, I suppose.
Yeah,
it's pretty interesting.
So one thing that like I'm noticing a lot with your sound and style is that it's very kind of like vocal driven. I think this is an interesting thing because like previous Dreampunk efforts have been quite instrumental and quite focused on the sort of epic ambience and these sort of vast soundscapes that they craft, but now with like more of a vocal focus, it's like the focus of what like the main point of a Dreampunk record is it's like shifting more towards that sort of vocal front.
Yeah. Well, so for my music, at least, that's part of why I actually mentioned Charming Devil and Dragon Soul. Like in particular on Dragon Soul, track 4, the Transcended Master HK. When I heard that, I was like, this is fucking nuts. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, I'd never used my voice on a track before then, so I think like a lot of people are quite surprised, actually.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like you have like the tongue-in-cheek like air horn element as well in there, I
actually I really like using things that are sort of seen as like a joke, but like sort of fucking with people to say like, is this a joke or not? You know what I mean? Because like, I think in the context of the song, it actually like sounds proper banging.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. But anyways, I mean, so there's a mixture of reasons. First of all, why I do the vocals, but I mean, one of them, and this is just like the blunt way of putting it, is like I have a massive fucking ego, so. Having myself at the forefront of my music really caters to that. But
I think like obviously your album's called Restless Ego too, but I think like ego is like not something to be I'm just against this idea of like killing the ego and all that stuff. I'm like quite the opposite. I think like ego is actually life in a sense, like to be like fully within the moment and within life and like really becoming who you are and such is a case of bringing ego into the world. And you know, like people associate the word ego with like negative connotations, but I don't think it has to be that way. You know, you can use your ego to like uplift like scenarios and such. You don't have to see it as like some kind of selfish thing necessarily, or I don't know. It's just like it's a bit of a philosophical subject, but yeah, like I mean, like I don't see it as like a a negative thing personally.
With the name Restless Ego, a lot of that came from. So the original concept for the album was I was trying to make something I was deeming sleep deprivation pop music.
Yeah.
Which, and I was working on it, and it became this like really drony thing, and I started moving it more into this like I was calling it like digital hyper grunge or some shit at one point.
Yeah, no, I can hear that. Yeah.
And but anyways, the name Restless Ego, it was more referring to this like idea that like the more tired I get, like the more cocky and like more I guess like fucking full of myself I get, and how it's like a really like fractured and like damaged self, but it's like very prideful in that it was like taking all the worst qualities of myself as a person and like making a crown out of it and wearing it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, I read that.
Yeah. So
wrong fucking way to go about it, dude.
Yeah, well, it was, I think that there's something in taking pride in not just like taking pride in yourself isn't just taking pride in the good parts of yourself. It's like coming to terms with all the negatives too, and just being like, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm not. It's really corny and like overplayed, but the like nobody's perfect philosophy. But like it's on a different level. Like it's like I don't know. Like I feel like that's a big part of like self acceptance. Is just
like what really sold me on it. Actually, was watching that festival thing that you did on Twitch, and like just seeing the video that you did to accompany the album, like that really opened it all up for me. Just because like I did notice that like it was cocky and egotistical, like the way you like for people who haven't seen it, it's like the album is sort of performed from the back of like, I think it's like an Uber or something, I don't know, like just driving through the city at night with like a red light on, and it's just like really atmospheric, and like the video starts with like you sort of like walking up to the car with a bit of a swagger and stuff, and I don't know, it's just like proper like cool basically, and like when I look at like hyperpop stuff like that's in like the mainstream and shit, like I just find that pretty like cringe, to use a term that I don't tend to use often, but I just hate like hyperpop. It's pretty shit. I like my thoughts on like this and like the whole culture of this kind of stuff forming is like it's like a real alternative, like just like and there hasn't been like an alternative for like this stuff in like such a long time, because like back in the day you'd have like pop music, but then you'd have like metal music for like alternative kids and stuff, and in my opinion there hasn't really been that strong alternative for quite a while, and I think like stuff like this could be eventually. I don't know, it's just sort of my thoughts, and it's like a lot darker and a lot cooler and such, a lot more alternative.
I think one thing with hyperpop that I'll say is that I think a lot of what kind of drags the genre down at times for me is it's a forced label. There's actually a lot of really good people that operate under the label hyperpop. So like Murmur, for instance, would have that thrown on their music at times. But the thing is like what Murmur makes is like absolutely amazing. Like I love their music to death. But then I think with the title forced upon it because of like the corporate like appeal.
That's just part of the like. Sorry to interrupt you there. It's just like part of the the way music's like discovered and presented today is like you just sort of have to go with these kind of names, otherwise you just like literally won't appear anywhere. So like, I mean, that's played into this whole thing with Dreampunk lately too. Like, you know, I spoke for years about how like we needed to get out of this fucking vaporwave algorithm because it was like holding all our music back, and it literally was. Because like if people discover vaporwave and then like on that top layer you've got, you know, like George Clanton, he's sort of like the front of vaporwave these days, and then you sort of sink into that, like the type of person who's going to get into George Clanton isn't the type of person who's probably going to get into someone like Exequi or Broken Canyon, for example. So like I always felt like these people, and like myself and everyone involved in that sort of scene, needed, you know, their own like place in the algorithm, and now like we've actually achieved that. So it's almost like we've been liberated from vapor hell now. But yeah, like I can like I've like I just sort of like write off hyperpop because like I sort of mentally associate it with that mainstream stuff, like just that, I don't know, like PC music and Charlie, whatever her name is, kind of Charlie XCX and all that stuff. But I'm sure there's probably like, you know, like more underground stuff that's because all this stuff's like so fluid, and you know there's blurred lines in the reality of it that yeah, I don't know. But like see if there is good stuff going on, like it could be presented as an alternative. You know, like,
yeah. I mean, I think also one other thing that's like interesting with the whole bring up like vaporwave as well, like, is that I see hyperpop more right now as a catalyst for everything else that's about like beginning to happen. Like, I think that it's that first sort of movement in this idea of like, I mean, hyperpop at its core, to give it a bit of credit here as like a label, is this like just really over the top pop music. And that's a very vague concept, in the same way that like vaporwave, although like, yeah, you can get into the fact that, oh, well, a lot of it's like slowed down samples. There was a certain point where that label was already like starting to become called into question. I mean, you know, and like, oh, is that really like all vaporwave is? And like, then you have like the idea that it's like music that's like generating nostalgia for a time that doesn't exist, and yada yada. But you know all that. But anyways, I think that was a guiding principle that allowed like a lot of other movements to spring off of vaporwave. In the same sense, I think that the defining principle of hyperpop music is vague enough that it's allowing a lot of things like hexed music, for instance, to spring off of it. And I think that you were going to like start seeing more of that. And I mean, like, even within it, like, so the same way like future funk is like such a sound that's like it's viewed as the same thing as like vaporwave a lot of the time, because like people kind of just like think that they're the exact same. Like, you have already, even in the more mainstream sort of corner of hyperpop, you have the difference between like the PC music sound you're talking about, and then like the more like sort of bladey, lean, like cloudy rap sort of influence stuff.
So is that stuff like considered hyperpop now?
It's more adjacent only because of the direction that their stuff's evolved in. I mean, but like, that's what I mean, is it's like, it's so vague. And I think a lot of that Spotify's doing.
Yeah, it's like very fluid in the reality of it. And I think, like, just to even push it further back, or like zoom out even more, like, it's not just like hyper pop, it's like literally like hyper everything. Entering this kind of like hyper modernity now that we've been sort of talking about on this podcast, actually, and later on Dream Catalogue, like that's just like the state of things today. And that's why I've been saying as well, like Dreampunk, to bring that back into, like, Dreampunk would be better off now, like really rethinking of itself as a sort of like hyper modern Dreampunk of sorts, rather than, you know, just going to these like rigid ideas of like cyberpunk or whatever else. Do you know what I mean? So the it's almost like, you know, the sort of like broader like music network, especially for younger artists, is like hyper modern in itself, and that opens up like a whole like philosophical discussion about, you know, like the nature of hypermodernity and hyperrealism and all that kind of stuff too, which is quite interesting. But yeah, like if you even if you look at like my flap stuff as well, like I feel like I was sort of onto these concepts even before like a lot of these hyperpop artists. Like, you know, obviously I've accused 100 Gex of ripping me off, but because
one thing I will say about some of your more flap oriented material and like one release of yours that I think I fucking love is the Hyper Devil shit. I think I genuinely think Sadness is like one of the craziest songs ever. I listen to that one like on the regular. Nice. Like it's I think that that's a really cool project as well, because it almost I mentioned this name earlier, Hex. Like I see that song kind of has a bit in common with that movement almost, but I don't
like,
think
we just got onto this artist called SIM card
Style Game.
Yeah. We just released.
We found him a few weeks ago, and honestly, I've been looking quite a lot into this Hex stuff because it's been interesting me as well. I'm really enjoying the kind of lo-fi, but still kind of grungy and still audibly satisfying sort of lo-fi sounds that are coming out of that sort of genre, and the sort of like trance roots as well. But SIM Card's like sound collage style is what really grabbed me, because it was like such a way of expressing like hypermodernity. It was a really creative way of doing it, because it was just such a mash of just sounds that you know, but like only from a fever dream from when you were a kid. It's like it's incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, go on, sorry. Just like within all this context, like to me, like I think like Dreampunk now has this chance to really in itself become a big, you know, a bit like launch off in the 2020s if it sort of like orients itself in this correct fashion. Well, not correct, but like the sort of just, you know, where the flow of things are going, if you know what I mean.
I think something I talked about a bit with the context of Dreampunk, and this actually has a little bit to do with Vaporwave as well, but I think that Dreampunk kind of offers like a wider gate for this, because I think its philosophy can drift into a lot of material. Is the entire idea of the thematic setting and atmosphere you're going for being synonymous with the music itself in a sense. So I think that there's a lot of music that does this, but I think it's just such a common trend in Dreampunk in particular. But like two instances outside of Dreampunk, which are albums that I think, if not for the cover, I don't think that they would like maybe hit the same way, or like say, so Untrue by Burial. That's a really good example, which it makes sense why that's such an influence. And then also like,
like Burial was obviously a massive influence to me when I was younger. Like I was into like, cause I got into dubstep actually through grime, because I listened to grime like from the very early days, and then sort of got into dubstep early on through that, sort of like because it was interconnected in a way. And then you know, like got into Burial very early in his career when he first dropped South London Boroughs EP. So like all that stuff, like, you know, obviously being a massive inspiration to me. So like I actually do see like, you know, Burial as almost like a sort of godfather of this kind of stuff in a way. He, you know, he was like his use of just the not just like his use of like Foley and stuff to create atmosphere, but also like his sound palette and such. He would like pull from strange sources that you know, and he did a lot of like kind of like sample hunting on YouTube and stuff to actually get a lot of that stuff, much in the way of like the way people like in Dreampunk or within No Agreements likely do as well. So it's almost like a trendsetter in a way, but almost like an inevitability as well in that regard. No, I think though, like, that's a really cool thing, and I think that's always
so like the imagery thing I was like mentioning and like the setting too.
So I sort of took it off in a little bit of a
Oh no, do not worry, it's all good. But
the context, and that like really goes into what you were saying earlier too about being a director and like, you know, contextualizing the music and all that kind of stuff too. How important that is, that's
and
a
like
big thing for me too, for sure.
I mean, so like with my album as well, and I guess just my music in general, but like specifically Restless Ego, I get this comment with a lot, is like, it's a very eclectic project. So like the first song is like this industrial hip hop thing. And then the second one's like this kind of gabber industrial techno thing with like a metal-esque ending section. And then I also have, it goes into like this housey, clubby section. And then the back half is like all experimental music. And, and anyways, it's like from a thematic standpoint, like everything is like really like linked, and there's a lot of like decisions and how the album was like pieced together, that even though everything is like super different, it fits into the same album. It's like a movie soundtrack in a lot of ways. And anyways, I think I think though that's sort of the big thing with all this, like the album art perspective. And if I could say anything of Dreampunk that would be really cool, it would be if it continued to have this lens of like trying to recontextualize other sorts of music. I think Andy from Pure Life, he at one point ended up saying that he viewed Dreampunk as like what post-rock is for electronic music. And I think that that's a unique lens to look at it. And I think that that's actually that would be an interesting direction. Like you have like another release, for instance. So you've probably heard Cult Members, Ethernet, but it's like clubby, like house music, but I don't really think many people are like that's not the average thing that people are going to like spin while they're like playing. Like, I mean, people could if they want, like definitely, but like that's just music that just sounds good, like on your own, and like it has like the soundtrack as quality, which there's definitely a lot of music that out there that follows that club music, not for clubs thing, but like I guess more just like it's also like the way the songs are written. They're like these like brief like bursts of club music versus like most traditional stuff is like really long and drawn out.
It's like album music essentially, not you know necessarily made for a club, though it could work in one in the right, you know, with the right DJ or whatever.
I mean that's just like one example of it, but another album that I've talked a fair amount about in the past, which is also from Pure Life, is Corporatism, which that's another thing sort of like mine. It's pretty eclectic like that.
We just had Way on last week actually, and he's someone who himself is you know, very sort of conceptually driven and elegant to the damned as well. Who obviously made the album with him, he's rather the same actually. So, you know, a lot of people in this scene are like, you know, almost like as much driven by art as they are music, which I guess makes it a lot different from other scenes. And I think, you know, that appears to be the same as well with No Agreements. So there's definitely like all these blurred lines going on within, you know, this wider internet music. Or I don't even really like the term internet music anymore, because, like, you know, where does anybody else actually listen to music? Like, people only listen to the music from the internet these days. So
yeah, I mean, at least the majority of people, it's like, this is like tangential and like barely related, but it almost reminds me of like this one musician, Danger, that I like was a big part of what got me into music back in the day, which is also in a sense kind of proto Dreampunk in a very weird way. But regardless, he was talking about, like, somebody asked him about electronic music. What are you listening to? He's like, what does electronic music even mean anymore? Like, literally everything's electronic music. Even a country album, it has now been thrown into a DAW, and like everything's been processed and messed with digitally. Like, there's no such thing as like it, like purely analog music at this point. Like it's just
first album to ever be mastered with Pro Tools was the fucking Beach Boys.
I don't know.
And that was
I didn't even know that. That's
and that was
hilarious.
in 92. So since 1992,
92,
the electronic music genre has been royally fucked.
Yeah. It's always been kind of, I mean, at the time, like when the term electronic music was like made, it made a lot of sense. But at this point, it's such a bad term because there's so many things it can mean. Like nobody's going to say, oh, analog music. Like what the fuck does that mean?
Like that's the interesting thing though, even though like these terms may not make any sense, we're sort of forced to comply with them, you know, if we want to be part of this system of how people actually listen to music today. Because if you think about it, like most people will only listen to music in three places, which is Spotify, YouTube, or Bandcamp, essentially, especially when it comes down to the type of music we make. I mean, you can say Apple Music, but like I don't really think many people actually use that. But I just see it I just see it as those three categories essentially, and I guess SoundCloud would be the other one, so that's four. So in that regard, like you have to think like, how do these places actually present music? And you know, if you think about Spotify, it's obviously very like genre driven. If you're not within a sort of like algorithmic space that you can be seen in, then your music's just going to get buried under a sea of other music. And that's always what I've stressed about the importance of this stuff. And like people like to try and spin what I say and say, oh, like I'm just trying to categorize everything. And it's like, no, I'm doing the opposite. I'm trying to like, you know, use the fucking tools that we're forced to use and like actually like subvert them into what we can do with it. So now like we've got a space and we can like actually do what we want within it now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I think something kind of linking to that, I think a big issue with like people's so like you're talking about the whole like over categorization or whatever. I think a lot of people's issues when it comes to genres is that they way too heavily over identify with them. They don't realize it's just a form of language. Like you're just like identifying what something is. Like you don't, just because you like somebody goes, oh yeah, this thing that you worked on is like techno, that doesn't mean that you're now forced to be a techno musician. It's like you just made a piece of music that is that. And like anybody who gets like really bent out of shape about it, I kind of think it's like on them. I think the problem is though, is that way too many people are that way, because honestly speaking, and this is why a bit ago I was mentioning that I think if there's one thing I'd like to see in Dreampunk is it's some like outside musical influences really starting to break in more, is because I think that there's, so like if you look at like a lot of like musical movements in like recent history, like the ones that always die are like the ones that like refuse to like properly like evolve. So like indie rock, for instance, fucking just it completely died when it was like the biggest thing at one point. Like everybody was talking about like all those bands, and like the only ones that are all that relevant were like the big major players, and even of them, like there's very few that like people, you know, outside of like a really like small demographic like care about. And like on the other hand, you have hip hop right now, which is at a point where it just keeps mutating. It's just like like every single year there is something in hip hop that is completely like against what people defined as it before. Like there's a rapper I've been listening to a lot, RXK Nephew, and like he just has that, like in his songs, he will rhyme the same word against itself over and over again. And he'll just be talking about like conspiracy theories, and like, it's just the most unhinged shit that I've heard in my entire life. And it's like if you were to like bring this stuff back to the 2000s and you showed it to somebody, they'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like the same, you could actually even say that today about like some of the most mainstream stuff in hip hop. If you brought that stuff back to the 2000s and you showed that to someone, they would just like, they would think that you're absolutely out of it.
No,
And,
I actually really like modern music because of this, just how like absurd and deconstructive it's getting, and all these kind of things. Because like I actually really couldn't stand the general music culture in the 2000s. Like I look back at it with like a bad memory. Actually, like I really disliked it. And in
It's
2010s,
funny.
it's just like it just fucking blew up everything, which I quite liked.
I think the thing with the music from the 2000s, and I think this is a big part of like the nostalgia for that era right now, is a lot of the things that are becoming culturally relevant within it are things that people like looked down upon as like bad at the time. So like scene music, like there's a big movement of people that are like really like getting back into stuff like Broken Side or all this stuff. And it's like at the time, like that music was considered to be some of the worst shit out there. Like if you listen to that stuff, people were like, yeah, but like that's the thing is it's like
I'm into shit music though. I know exactly what you mean. It was like the attitude back then was like completely different, and now people's sort of attitudes have been, have shifted in many ways to being open to a lot more abrasive and experimental sounds. Like I remember speaking to Halo Acid in it was around the summer of 2019 when 100 Gex had just come out and they hadn't really blown up yet. They were getting a bit of attention. And I was saying, like, look at these, like, cunts just ripping off fluff and all this. And I said, like, this is, like, literally going to be the future of music. And, like, he just didn't believe it at the time. And, like, I mean, like, we can look now and see that, that like, 100 Gex in particular become pretty huge. And
I think I don't, like, have too much against them. I think it's worth noting.
I riff on them, but like I'm actually like quite impressed with like the productions and creativity of it all and stuff. Like, it's just like I was a bit like shocked because like I actually saw so much of flap and that stuff, and I mean it's not like an unprecedented conspiracy theory because like Laura Lester's actually followed me on Twitter as well, so I think like like 100 Gex would have actually been aware of fluff. It was all I was fucking posting about back then. So Dylan
Brady's like production has like also found its way like into a lot of other music. Thing with like
it's all creeped up right into the mainstream now, and it's like I don't know, just that sort of brings us back to that point about how, like we're at this sort of like hyper modern, stage of music. Because like in a way, like what does hyper modern mean? In a way, it means like sort of unconscious of the past, and in a way, we have become unconscious of the past. So many of us, and how like music used to be. That we just sort of exist within all these like absurd frameworks that we just sort of go along with, and we don't really know how we got here in many ways. And we just sort of have this context for it all, which is like increasingly like crazy, and the music's sort of starting to like really reflect that craziness, I think.
Yeah. One other thing. So like going back real quick a little to the 2000 nostalgia, because I was talking with you. Oh no, it's all good. I was talking to you like the other day about like CDs and stuff like that. Yeah. I think that's a big part of it, and this is like a thing that I've been kind of
like if there's anything from the 2000s that I would say I liked a lot, it was actually the CD culture. Like I like coming into the 2000s, I would have been a teenager, and like I was just like really getting big into music and experimental music, whatever I could find then, and I spent like all the money that I could ever I ever got like on CDs back then, because that's just how it was. That this was even when like Napster was around. There was still like something about going to a shop and buying a CD and taking it home and listening to it for the first time. I think like bringing that culture back, especially in like this age where we do have like instant access to data, like on the internet, like just like being able to go on Spotify whenever a new album drops and listen to it within seconds. That was just like sort of alien back then. Like even downloading music off Napster or SoulSeek or whatever had a process to it. But I think this idea of bringing CDs back as a sort of trend is actually pretty cool. And I don't know if like most people know this, but like the first like physical media we ever did on Dream Catalogue was CDs rather than tapes, because like that was actually like what I was into and I wanted to push that, but people just weren't biting it at the time really. And eventually we did tapes because that's just what the audience wanted. But I think like if CDs can come back as a trend, I would be quite happy about that actually, because it's my preferred sort of like physical format when it comes to music. I just realized maybe it's like partly nostalgia, because like that's what I grew up with. I mean, like I had tapes when I was a kid, and I had a little tape collection and everything, but like like CDs is what I really loved when I was a teenager. And I just think there's something about like the artwork. You got like you get like a little booklet and everything, and there's like so much more you can do with it really, and you don't have to flip the sides halfway like you do with tapes or vinyl. You can just put it on and have a full experience.
Yeah, well, I think like there's a few different things related to a lot of this that I think that are going to lead to where CDs go, and then I'm also going to make a prediction on what's going to happen after CDs. So the first thing, like if you asked me like if CDs were like going to get big, say like I don't know, like 5 years ago, actually not even that, I would say as little as like 2 years ago, yeah, I would have told you like I would have said there's no way, because the thing is like a big part of why people like tapes and like it's in the way you're talking about, it's a con, but the fact that you have to like flip it and vinyl over halfway through is like you're like interacting with the music in a physical sense, which sounds like ridiculous in one way, but it also in another is kind of to some like this intimate experience. But then it's like the media itself is literally on it. With a CD, it's just data like written like on it. But like with the tape and vinyl, it's like burned or graved like into it. And anyways, like I think though why that I've completely changed my mind, and I've been telling people this, is like I don't think that it's just that people are like getting nostalgic for like CDs like as a physical like thing. Like I think they're getting nostalgic for the idea of like digital data consumption. Like it's the same thing that you see like a lot of like people that are into video games, like as more and more things are moving towards digital, people are starting to go like, wait a minute, no, I don't want that. It's like, and they're starting to like push back, and they like but I think it's much more prevalent in music because like of the just the demographic as well. But I also think like CDs have a lot more room, as you mentioned, for like creativity right now, like even beyond the booklet thing. Like one thing that's like been a recent thing that like Echo 2K and Arca did, where the ejector CD cases, I'm not certain if you've seen those things.
No, the CD caddies.
They call them ejector cases, but they literally like there's a CD inside of this transparent case, and like you pull like a trigger and it just like shoots it outward, like. Ooh. And I'm actually gonna be messing with that soon, which there's a little bit of a spoiler for
like,
no agreement stuff.
I've like when it does come to like digital versus physical media or whatever, like I've long like championed like streaming over everything else. Like especially like just YouTube, SoundCloud, and then even Spotify, to be honest. Like Spotify, at the end of the day, it's like the world's greatest like vault of music in a way. But there's something about like just like getting off the internet, like especially these days when the internet like consumes so much of our lives in like every single way. Like we work on the internet, we spend time on the internet with friends, we play games through the internet, we read from the internet, watch videos from the internet. There's something about the idea of getting things that can actually take us away from the screen for a while. So like the idea of like putting a piece of physical media on is actually becoming a bit more alluring to me as of late. And that's like informing some other like decisions we've been making, which aren't public yet, but will be soon. But yeah, like in regards to CDs, like I guess this is a bit of a spoiler, but like Dreamcast is going to be moving more towards CDs now.
I think that's a great decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just like quite happy about doing it. Really, even if we don't sell as much as we would with tapes, it's like a start towards something. Because it's like that part of like what you said earlier. Like if you're not evolving, you'll stand up rigid essentially and go nowhere. It's not just the same as styles in music. It's the same like style and how you present things and all sorts of stuff. It's like fashion and style and all this, really.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like also with things like this, you're like investing in like your belief that it's going to be the next big thing and it's going to pay back later. Because if you like, from the point of view, we're sitting here and talking about CDs and whatnot, like, yeah, okay, tapes are the safe bet now, but okay, now you have a bunch of things in your backlog that are all in cassette, and say 2-3 years from now, cassettes are no longer the leading trend, then like that actually is like worse for your sales too. And it's like, that's like a big thing also, like why I think curation's such an art form in general. Like it's even beyond it's not just that, like, okay, sorry, I'm going to refocus my point here, but it's not just that you're taking like certain things that you like and you're presenting them. It's also like the art of like placing a bet in the same way that somebody may place bets on certain stocks that they think are going to like take off. But like for me, I'm looking at certain things in music, and I would never put out something I don't like, to be clear. Like even if I thought something was going to be super profitable, if I thought it was the worst shit I'd heard in my life, you can bet your ass it's not making on my label. But
I've always approached it the same way, to be honest. Like I've turned down some pretty big names over the years just because it didn't really fit or I didn't like it. And likewise, like pushed artists who had like no following whatsoever just because I thought they were pretty good. And like I can definitely I actually like really recognize that in no agreements. Like you've literally like created the culture out of it and you've brought all these names together, and that's like a lot more powerful than just being one of these labels who tries to root out whatever sells the best, because it creates like a dynasty in a sense. It's not just like some plastic selling label, it's like an actual culture. That's what will stand the test of time more than how much plastic did you sell one year or another. And it
I think that both have a role.
Yeah. Like I mean, like you gotta also treat it as a business, and like you've just been talking about it in that way, and maybe like the word business is anathema to most artists, but in fact, in the sort of like way that we do art in today's world, like art is business. Like it's entrepreneurialism at its heart, because I mean like that opens up a whole other philosophical discussion that I don't really want to get into right now because it'd be there for ages. But I mean,
we've gone way over our run.
I noticed that. I was like, oh man, I'm like, this is gonna be a long ass episode.
We're literally coming up to the hour mark here, but yeah.
Oh my god,
I think like that's actually very important. Like having a sort of entrepreneurial approach to music and art in today's world, even if like your aim isn't in regards to like money or listenership, at the same time it's like, how do you actually like appeal to people today? If you're just making art for like therapy or whatever for your own sake, that's fine, but a lot of people, there's so many reasons to make art and music, and
definitely. I think
I don't shy away from these terms like business or entrepreneurialism personally.
No, I mean, it's like at the end of the day, it's like an inevitability. Like it's just like, as much as I wish that I could just put out whatever I want, like without regards for how it'll perform, like that's just so unrealistic as well. Like, and not only that, but it's also unfair to all of the artists that I work with that are actually trying to like make a living out of this that are like really serious and like have careers taking off, because then I'm not making a home that's fit for them either. Like and not to say that like it's because musically it's not performing as well, but it's like I can't support them the right way. Because like say that one artist needs like a music video and they need like a $2,000 budget to fund that. Like if I'm over here like releasing like thing after thing that's just like non-profitable for us, there's no way that I could like fund something like that. Like it's just, and so I guess more my main point is that like the business aspect of the job is something that's in the context of like everything, it's needed, because like without it, there's a lot of people that do want to do this for a living and they're just not going to be able to. And like that's the thing. There's so many people need to like figure out the relationship they want with music. Like they need to figure out like that might sound like a bit harsh, but like if you want like music to be a business, you have to treat it like a business. And if you want it to be like a therapeutic thing, just treat it like a therapeutic thing. And like maybe you can find your balance, but like you have to like kind of pick your lane largely.
Yeah, but then there's like at the same time there's like a balance in that regard too. Like if you treat it like just sort of to go back to that earlier point, like if you treat it just purely as a business, then you know at the end of the day you're just going to be remembered as a businessman. You're not going to be remembered as an artist. So there's certainly that balance there. And like like one of my biggest mistakes, to be honest, is actually going too much towards like my artistic inclinations and actually like fucking my business up a lot of times. So,
yeah,
like a bit of a warning in that regard.
I mean, I definitely have made some impulsive decisions I regret.
In a way, though, that like that kind of stuff actually, I guess, builds character over time. You know, I don't know. Like we can talk about these things, but at the end of the day, like our impulses and such can take over in the moment and guide us in new directions. You know, there's always like these sort of like guidance spirits that take things in ways we don't really anticipate. You can't really ever predict the future as such. So
definitely,
so, I guess you know we're like literally 2 minutes away from the hour mark here. So
yeah, we probably, can wrap this up. I'm gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, do you want to you know, plug anything or anything you got coming up or anything of that nature before we sign off here?
I guess I'll just plug my label. If you're interested in, I guess, just a wide array of different styles of music that are all fairly like cutting edge, No Agreements, we're doing a lot of that. We're also right now to reveal some future plans that I haven't really announced yet, and I'm not planning to for a bit. We're currently trying to work out like IRL live shows, and instead of just doing these like URL fests, which I can enjoy those too, but we're trying to, once again, as you're talking about, move more into the real world space. Yeah. And then we have some big releases coming up soon. And I also dropped Restless Ego earlier this year, which is my album, which you can find on all streaming services. I also put it on CD.
Yeah.
And that's about it on my end. I'm working on a new record right now, which I've talked to you a bit about, but I'm not ready to reveal too much info on that.
Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, cheers for coming on, Tony. You know, it's been a pretty good conversation. We'll have to get you back in one day in the future, maybe, you know, a year from now when No Agreements has blown up even more than it has already, which I do think is going to happen. Just like I look at these things and like I think about like the energy going into it right now, like that actually doesn't really pay off until like a year or two down the line in my experience. And I think like, you know, the amount of hard work you put into this, which is like clear to everyone, is definitely going to pay off big time in the future for you. So, you know, it'd be interesting to get you back on when that happens, because I do think, you know, everything's definitely going that way for No Agreements. So, yeah, cheers for coming on. And just to sign off this interview, do you want to introduce this track, this next track, and the artist?
Yeah, the closing track here is from New Pink. It's Your Zastavo Acid Bride. I think I pronounced that right.
So the main thing I wanted to talk about on this week's episode was the nature of creativity, because I've been doing a lot of like soul searching and like reading up on like spiritual stuff and just trying to find out like where does creativity come from? What's the nature? What's like the root of it? And also why do we create and what spurs someone to create? And the main like fundamental root that I realized about creativity is that it's like a celebration of the world. It's a celebration of existence. When you create, it's basically like showing off to the world that, hey, I had this experience, and because I had this experience, I'm now creating this artwork to express how I felt about this experience. So it's kind of like a joy, like a celebratory thing. But
Don't you
another
think
thing
that's
that
a
I
little bit
noticed-
rigid? Like,
Not
why
necessarily.
is every like form of creation like an expression of some joy?
Well, it's not necessarily.
Why can't it be like an expression
of joy.
of hatred, or not even an expression at all?
Well, like you see, this is where yeah. You could expand on this concept further if you want, but this just getting to where I was going to with that, because I'm just like
Yeah, sorry.
I'm getting to a point. Main thing with creativity is the more that creative someone tends to be, there's also like a very noticeable and obvious correlation with like insanity and like mental unwellness and stuff. And so like I'm thinking as creative types, we sort of have like a responsibility to ourselves to like be as creative as we can, sure, but not drive ourselves fucking insane. So
Well, I think this is like two massively different topics here. Like, you want to talk about the nature of creativity, but also about like, you know, keeping yourself in good health too. So I don't know. Let's focus on the first one first, and then we'll come to the second one afterwards. So I think like my thoughts on creativity is that like the notion of creation itself is you know is life itself. Like everything is in constant creation, if that makes sense. So like I don't know, I've got a plate in front of me here that's empty. If I like threw that plate against the wall, it would actually create like shatters of, you know, like ceramic or whatever plates are made out of. I don't know. So like that would actually be a form of creation, like the destruction of the plate, which means itself, you know, destruction is a form of creation too. So like the real like root of it is change. Like we're always changing.
Yeah.
So that's what creation is. So yeah, Gon, when you were referring to it, I presume you mean like the notion of like artistic creation then.
Yeah, I mean like the idea of coming up with like an original concept in your head and then having like the
that like me throwing this plate against the wall would be an original concept. I mean, let's not to say I'd be the first person to ever throw a plate, but that would be me coming up with a concept in my head and then, you know, like executing it.
Yeah.
So what makes that different from, I don't know, writing a song?
That's an interesting way of looking at it, actually. The way that I was viewing it, in terms of like creativity is like, I was viewing it more as like its own like experience, like being creative as like its own like kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I actually, you know, I know where you're getting at, and I think there's like a sort of type of creativity that you're talking about there, which is like a more abstract or artistic one, as we'd say.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear Sophia crying in the background, but
I think that is just about distant enough. But yeah, what I'm referring to like is more the sort of secluded sit down, get in the sort of zone and getting like a creative mindset and then just like focus on like more of a focused kind of individual, just you and the art kind of thing. But the way
what if I was smashing a plate on my own?
So what's the point?
What's the point, or what's the point in writing a song?
That's a fair point, actually. So you're basically saying that, like, in terms of creativity, we should all go insane to be more creative.
I don't know. It's just like, what is creativity? Like, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird question.
Yeah, like I'm not talking specifically about like what the actual like root nature of creativity is. I'm more talking about like the correlation, like, and this is definite. This has been observed by scientists and by people over the years, scholars, what have you. Like, mental illness and creativity correlate. Like, generally, people who have these kind of conditions are the more creative types. So knowing that and knowing that we are these creative ones, how do we also like not?
All right, so you're going on to you're going into like the mental health like angle there again, but we haven't even like solved the task of. I mean, so we haven't finished this like first task of solving, you know, the mystery of what creativity is, if it even is a thing. So we can't even move on to that second part yet.
In the broadest sense, like.
So like let's make a separation, and like you're talking about like artists, right?
Yeah, I'm talking
about.
So
what differentiates like an artist from a chef?
Not really all that much, to be honest. They're both like creating these kind of. They are artistic expressions.
All right, what separates a chef from a McDonald's burger flipper?
Passion.
Passion. What if you're passionate about flipping burgers and?
Then something's fucking wrong with you. What kind of fucking psychopath?
Hey, so that actually links into the second question. Like you said, if you're passionate about flipping burgers, something's wrong with you. But then, you know, is being passionate, is there something wrong about being passionate? Or is there not?
No, there's nothing wrong about being passionate.
So you think being passionate is a good thing, but not in the context of flipping burgers, but in the context of something a bit more, I don't know, like what is it that differentiates the chef from the burger flipper? The notion of like, I don't know.
The notion of like I'll put it to you this way: when you are like this is a difference as well between like living and existing. Like when you are alive, when you are experiencing the world to its fullest, you feel every feeling. Your five senses are like immersed within the world. You know, you are enthralled.
What if you're deaf?
Well then,
sorry to just
you can still be passionate about the world without like.
But you only have like 80% of the passion that a normal person would have because you're deaf.
Okay,
it's okay. We can
who have
we can
all
actually
of their emotions.
We can rip on deaf people because they can't hear this, so that's okay.
Okay, come on. Look, even if you are deaf, I'm sure we've got subtitles.
No one deaf can hear this.
Even if you are deaf, I know you're deaf. There, hey, even if you're deaf, you're still cool. But no, seriously. The burger flipper, going back to the burger flipper, he has all five of his, senses, but he is only living at like 10% anyway because he's not taking full advantage of his life. His experience is just this placid sort of ongoing, never-ending flipping of
like
burgers.
A slave.
It doesn't really, it's not fulfilling. It's not
right.
enriching.
There's also a question of like slavery and mastery as well in this regard. Slave and master. So so do you advocate slavery?
No.
Sorry. But then if you don't advocate slavery, then who's gonna flip burgers?
I don't want anyone to flip fucking burgers. I want people. Listen, look. I want people who the people who are actually enthusiastic about making the burgers and enjoy the experience of making the burger as like a craft thing, as like something they can actually enjoy, and like that.
So what about who's going to clean?
Like
who's going to clean the sewage system? Like the people who are passionate about cleaning people's shit out of the sewers.
I am entirely sure there are people out there who actually genuinely enjoy doing cleaning jobs. I am pretty certain that there must be at least a few of them. Who
but
have some kind
I don't think there's enough to like cover the whole world of sewage. Like I think at some point you're going to have people who don't want to do that work do it.
Well, then in that case, there needs to be advances in automation so as that people can actually do jobs that they enjoy doing. So
you're sort of like a transhumanist, and you want more like technology to take over and let humans have more freedom.
I want humanity as a whole to be free to do what it wants to
Why?
do rather than being told what it should do.
Yeah, but
Because
why?
I feel like humans are at their best when they're free and when they're kind of like just being rather than like, because constantly having this pressure to conform, in a way it's limiting, but in a way it's also kind of like, for some people it's beneficial.
But
For some
why do you
people,
care
being
about
those deadlines-
like? Do you actually care about, say, like a man in India who cleans the sewage system? Do you actually care about him, or
No.
you just do? You, so so do you actually care about humanity, or do you just care about yourself?
I care about humanity because I think of everyone. When I think of other people, I try to think of them as if I was in their position.
Right.
So generally, I like to think that what I would want, in like a sort of general sense.
Yeah, but let's say
people-
let's say you liberated the Indian sewage cleaner. What if that comes back to haunt you and he eventually enslaves you?
How would an Indian sewage cleaner enslave
Because you
me?
liberated him, so he's got freedom, and now he's like free to enslave.
I see the point you're getting at. You're thinking that like, are you suggesting that slavery is an inevitability? Is that what you're suggesting?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a possibility. Or, I don't know. It depends what slavery is, I guess.
Well, let's define that. What is slavery? Slavery is doing something against your will because you have been forced to by someone else.
Yeah, like we could define it as that to suit this sort of debate, I guess it is, or not even a debate, really, just a line of thought.
Yeah, just
So, like, if we
following.
define slavery as that, like being forced to do something against your will, then you're.
Yeah. So it's as far.
So,
going
is
back
that an
to-
inevitability? It does seem like, yeah, for some
Yeah.
people at least.
Yeah.
If any, the potentially, you know, in at some level, like everyone is like a slave to something. You know, we're a slave to the earth. Like everyone's a slave to the earth. You know, if your will is to like live on Mars, for example, what's the possibility that you can get from the Earth to Mars? It's probably like close to zero for everyone.
Well, Elon Musk is working very hard on changing that.
Yeah, exactly. But like, you know, for everyone else, it's like close to zero. So we're slaves to the Earth in that sense.
We're slaves to existence.
Yeah. Like even if you get to Mars, you're still a slave to existence. Yeah, slave to your humanity, whatever humanity could entail.
Going back to this sort of discussion we were having earlier about like how passionately like people.
Yeah,
live
let's
their
rewind a
lives.
bit because I'm just being a bit silly, to be honest.
So like I think the main thing that determines like this, going all the way back to like the creativity insanity like correlation, the more passionately you live life, the more creative you are. The more creative you are, the more shit you create. But it also, if you get too far out there, it can like affect you because you kind of get lost out there. So I guess like, how do you keep yourself tethered, I guess, is the real question, you know? Like, how do you go like insane with some wild, crazy out there concept and then also like
Could
reel
get a job
yourself
at
back in and
McDonald's
still
to
be
balance the scales. Because you said the McDonald's workers like only living at like 10% or whatever, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right. So if you're like, if an artist is someone who's living at 100%, let's say like a Tyler Durden from Fight Club type figure, right? That's like 100% living life. Then, you know, if that's too extreme for you, perhaps you should get a job at McDonald's to balance the scales, and then you're going to be at like 50%. But then, like, if you think you can handle it, you know, go the whole way, just drop out of McDonald's and go all in. That's what I did. Not that I worked at
So-
McDonald's, but like I dropped out of the 10% zoners. If
Okay,
you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying, but also like in terms of just like like mental well-being.
So how to cope if you're gonna go all the way in on something like that, and you sort of
Yeah. I
right,
guess
so-
that's the refinement of the question.
So it's like I think that's like a question of anxiety. So like, how do you deal with anxiety? That itself's a pretty large topic. It's not like something
like
that you
the
can give in a
main-
single sentence, really.
I honestly think that's like the root negative emotion. Like I think all of
anxiety?
the negative emotions. Yeah, I think all of the negative emotions stem
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah, because I think anxiety is like really just when you boil it down, it's like a fear of death, and then like what's a fear of death? A fear of death is a fear of life itself. So, so it is. You know, you got to just stop fearing, basically, and just bring yourself into the world.
So that's how you maintain 100% creativity without burning yourself out. Is you just
Well, there's other like
Like just-
there's sort of like physiological aspects to anxiety too. It's really important to keep your body in the best health you can. So do exercise, eat right. Those things are really important. Like if you drink a lot, that can cause anxiety. Things like that. If you smoke weed, that can cause anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, like this, like 10% versus 100% sort of dichotomy that you've brought up here. A lot of people just sort of sink into themselves, and they'll work a shit job for 8 hours a day, and then they'll come home and they'll watch Netflix, and they'll just like completely lose themselves and all this stuff, so they don't even have to think.
yeah.
And that's how they get over anxiety. It's just in like escapism. Whereas, if you actually want to like live life, you have to escape the escapism, I guess.
Because like escapism fundamentally is just coping.
Cope.
And that's like the one, and that's one thing I saw a lot at the workplace that I was while I was in between this whole Dream Catalogue thing. A lot, like everyone that I was working with, they were just like completely lost in their own little worlds of like escapism. Basically, there was like one of them was like a movie buff, and they watched all these movies. Another one was like a farm, and they had these like animals. Another one was like they were like a beauty influencer on like TikTok or something, and they were like constantly recording like beauty videos and shit. And I was just looking at them all. They all had their own little ways of like not actually interacting with one another.
And then you became Shima Durden and quit your job.
Yeah, pretty much.
Started an underground fight club. Started beating people up.
Yep, that's how I got these scars, man.
Nice.
So I think it's a high time we get into a track, eh? time for the industry heralded award-winning demo segment.
Everyone's favorite segment.
A lot of demos here, actually.
Yeah, we got quite a lot, actually. How many have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then that 9th one sent in 3 demos for some stupid reason. So 9, yeah. So let's round it off to 10 by actually getting up an old demo first, I think. It's only one.
Yeah.
Let's look at these old ones here.
Let's go all the way back.
These old demos are from when Dreamcast was originally opened before we shut down.
We were starting on March 12th and moving forward, I think.
Okay.
So let's go.
All right.
So let's go next.
Jump Martin Green. Martin Green.
Yeah, let's see what Martin Green's got.
He's
got 2 demos. Hi, my name is Martin.
He misspelled.
From my own samples.
He misspelled his name.
Is he Martin or Marcin? Which one is he?
So his email says Martin, but then he wrote, "Hi, my name is Marcin." How the fuck do you spell your own name?
If you're interested in establishing cooperation, please contact me. Here's my phone number.
Yeah, I've never seen someone give a phone number in the demo before, but.
All right, Martin. Let's see what you got.
Listen to Martin here.
Let's listen to Martin. Marvin the Martian. Let's see what you got.
Okay, listen. Can you hear that? Okay.
Yep.
Any thoughts?
Not our style in the slightest. And like, even as chill hop, it's not good. It's not even like on beat. Like, you've got some parts that have a swing beat, and you've got some parts that are like completely like normal. Like, this is a mess.
Yeah.
This is a fucking mess.
It's pretty bad.
Get this out of here. Martin, fucking Marvin the Martian, you suck. Get out of here.
I don't usually go too hard on the demos because I know some people are like just starting out in their careers and stuff, but it's just getting worse. No, you shouldn't be sending demos to like some of the best record labels like Dream Catalogue. I think you really need to focus on your craft.
Yeah, that's shit.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, just thought it was shit. Yeah.
Get out of here.
All
right. So let's do the new shit, because hopefully the new shit will fucking blow that out of the water. Let's start off with fucking Chelsea Hines.
All right, Chelsea Hines.
Hey y'all, I'm Chelsea writing to you on behalf of a collaborative project I worked on with a good friend of mine, NY-based techno artist called Crit. During quarantine, we teamed up and created dark, dreamy, sexy techno pop-ish 10-track album called Sip and Reserve, and I've been looking for the right label to release it with.
Very ladylike demo and reading out there.
Yeah,
all right, let's listen to her demo.
I had to make it sound as beautiful as possible. Okay.
What I love about you is how dark you are. You melt in my mouth. I could taste your earth.
I like this.
Yeah, it's a bit shoegazy, a bit kind of like chill out music.
It's
the production's good.
Reminds you a bit of like
some,
it's like the vocals in particular. It reminds you a bit of like Andy Stott in a way.
Yeah, it's quite hypnotic. All right, I'm willing to give this guy another try. This is a good start, but I wanna
it's
see
not
some.
a guy, it's a girl, as you can tell by the voice.
Let me tell you something, dude.
Right, let's listen to this. I'm quite liking this
Yeah, I
a lot,
like
actually.
this. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, this is tight. No, I'm feeling this.
Oh, this is one more. Let me skip into over here.
Coffee in the morning. I need more.
You know what? In regards to this whole like project, though, right? I think what'll really get it over the top is if it's got the right kind of like aesthetic and just the right presentation. Yeah, because like if this is presented like as some kind of like industry thing, it'll be like it won't work. But if it's done in the right way, I think it could work very well.
Yeah, because like I feel like musically speaking,
Yeah,
everything's here. This is what we're
yeah,
looking
it's
for.
really well made and obviously well produced, good singer. I need to listen to it a bit more, you know, before like fully, you know, decide on it. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna earmark that one to give it a proper listen and probably get in touch with them.
First success of the new demo segment. Hell yeah!
It just depends, like what do we want to do with them? Like a single, you know, do we go release an album or what? I don't know. We'll have to figure that stuff out.
Have to sit down and actually give them a proper listen. But Chelsea Hines,
yeah, I think it's like I think it's someone like I'd want to like talk to and make sure everything's on the right page and stuff before we. Because see here, like you didn't read the rest of the email out. It says I come from the New Orleans indie rock scene, and the other guy is from New York and Mexico techno. So we are looking for a community that supports the weaving of these genres and can provide a platform to share and connect with other inspiring artists. So see that could be like Dreampunk. Do you know what I mean? Like listening to that, like I definitely think it fits into what Dreampunk could be. It just needs to be like done in the right way. So it just depends on like what the artists are like and that kind of thing, really. But yeah, like pretty impressive, really.
Yeah, that was really good. I rated that a lot.
Yeah.
So now we have one from Terepafu Hyper.
Alright.
Master, White Banshee, Shiba, good morning. This is the only transmission from Terepafu for a hyper age of new hyper-modern hyper music. For you, I have a new song demo hyper. Paris Arresade.
Alright, let's listen to this.
Let's see what you got, Terepafu.
Penis.
Did that just say what I think it said?
Yes, it did.
Penis.
Yeah, did you?
Penis. Penis.
So this is some penis music right here.
Have I told you yet that I have a penis? It's true. I have a penis. I'm in the penis mafia.
Penis mafia.
Penis.
Penis Mafia, where you at?
What do you see? It's my penis.
Okay, we get the joke.
What do you see? Yes. It's my penis.
Yeah, okay, we get this.
Penis. Look up.
So, what do you reckon? As the general manager of Dream Catalogue, are you gonna take this on or not?
Penis.
You know what? I have taken my chances over the years,
I have put my hat on the line. I have put my reputation at stake. But somehow, this is just a little bit beyond the protocol.
I like
somehow
it.
I don't.
But
Oh, you like this penis music?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, it's sort of like post-flop in a way. Maybe just flop, but it's got... I kind of like, you know, the atmosphere of it and such, but I think one problem I do have with it is it's like too trap-based. I wouldn't mind seeing something a bit more modern, hyper-modern, so to speak.
Yeah, you need to put the penis in penis music.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind, like, you know, maybe if it had a bit of more of a drill beat or something like that, because I think, like, trap's a little bit 2010s.
Yeah, trap's just too antiquated for what we're going for.
Yeah, so...
Go for crazy shit.
Yeah. Alright, next demo.
Polyandra.
Go on.
Hey, I hope this email finds you well. My name is Mo. I am a musician and a producer from Israel.
My artist name is Fleanger. I have a new preoccupied track called Love, etc. This track talks about what is love and why do we need it so much. Here's your private link.
Alright, let's
Why?
This.
Why do we need love?
What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry, you pulled up his artist photo and it just kind of looks like he's staring off into space.
Yeah, he is. Alright, let's listen to
Wait, hang on, I think we had this guy on before. I recognise the name, I think.
Oh, okay.
We might this guy might be a returning guy. Alright, let's see what you got.
I mean, it's a pretty long intro, shall I just skip into it?
Yeah, give it a skippity skip. That's some good YouTube background music. I can't wait for this to be in the background of the new Half as Interesting video. Or maybe the new Wendover Productions, something like that. You know, just in the background, just while they do their VA. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's very well produced. You can tell, but not really what we're looking for. It does.
I think it's overproduced, to be honest.
And here we got a bit of synthwave vibe.
A bit of fucking crappy little synthwave, just to completely like fucking ruin any chances that you did have. I am sorry, Fleanger, but you can go and Fleange yourself.
Alright, next.
Michael with Jericho Flex. I don't miss my wife.
Right.
What kind of fucking name is that? Okay,
Alright, let's listen to this. Go and pick a tune off here.
Okay, let's listen to Waste Combat because I already like it because you fucking represent that fucking game. I guess it's dope.
I was liking this, but I'm not liking the drop as much, but I did like the intro.
Yeah, the intro was decent. This drop is kind of ass. But then again, we are listening to the full album when he did send just a signal, like a signal, if you look at the
Alright,
email.
that's a bit weird as it goes on.
Yeah, just look at this guy's art style. It looks kind of weird, so like I'm interested to see...
No, yeah, I like the artwork. It's pretty, kind of like demented. The music's demented as well. Alright, let's pick another tune.
Hey, sweetie, I'm gonna call you later.
Yes, it's pretty crazy.
I'm feeling this.
Yeah, I quite like it. Let's listen to another tune.
Okay, so what they actually said is the single was Jericho Flex.
So Jericho Flex is the single, right? Okay, yes. I'll listen to that one.
Feeling this. Get this motherfucker on. Get this guy.
You rate this guy, yeah?
Yep. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, it's pretty demented, this stuff. It's just like, you don't really know what's gonna come next.
I love it. I love it. This is exactly what I'm looking for.
Hyper modern.
Good shit. This is the good shit.
This the good shit.
Did the good shit. Did the good shit. Yo, email
So
this
is
guy
this
back. Michael. DJ Shines On. Email this guy back and just send like just a one-line response just saying this the good shit.
This that good shit. Alright, I'll let you.
Yeah.
I forwarded it to your inbox.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, this
Okay,
is like,
so now I'm
this is
kind of
good.
depressed because like no matter what single we get next, it's not going to be anywhere near as good as that.
No, this part's like really selling me on him now. Like, this is good.
Absolutely stellar.
Now some of these chord changes and shit are just surreal. Alright, that was good. We need that as a single.
That was stellar. That was absolutely stellar.
Yeah. We're gonna have to listen to that full album, I think, and see what it's like.
That is definitely single worthy. Well done, dude. That was cracking.
Alright.
Okay, next up we have Clear Banshee.
Clear Banshee. That's a original name.
Yep, I wonder where you got that one from. Michael Coolan, who is apparently so cool that he doesn't need to write out a fucking entrance.
Just a link, fair enough. Alright, go on.
Yeah.
Pick a tune.
There's one called I Love You, Martin Smith on there.
Alright, let's listen to that.
I'm supposed to act like they aren't here. Assume there's a they at all. Whatever it is that's watching, it's not human. Unlike little dark-eyed Tom. It doesn't have a
What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that it's very clear that he's inspired by your style. I think that's very
flappy, yeah.
apparent.
Yeah, it's pretty flappy.
So I think as the person who invented your style, you have the room to kind of speak on it.
Yeah, I mean,
you
I
know.
had some like good spots in. I want to listen to some more of these though. So pick another one. Yeah, let's listen to Clear Mode.
Clear Mode.
Let me skip into this.
Okay, now you lost all your points. You just made a generic trap tune, dude. You can't just make generic trap and then label it as something good and then think that we don't see right through that shit, dude.
Alright, let's listen to a few more here, because I want to see if there's more vocals in.
Right, I want to listen to that. I want to see that Dodge Ram tune that he made. There's like a Dodge Ram with a seat back.
This one's a bit like the original Black Banshee. Who did you say, sorry?
The old black Dodge Ram with the seat back one. Because that looks like a line that like someone would flap, so. Just going mad with those drums.
This is pretty demented. See, this is what I want to hear. No, I rate this. That's the hypermodern vibe. You know what? I want to hit, like, the only problem with people who make, like, flap, hyperpop, or anything like that is I want to hear the vocals more clearly. Like, if I can't even hear what you're saying, it puts me off a bit, because it just turns it into, like, an instrument rather than a voice. Like, I think you really need to, like, push that, the voice through the mix so you can, hear the lyrics. But, I actually really liked that last tune. Which one was that? Was that All Black?
That was All Black.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I'll keep an eye on Clear Banshee and see how he progresses. I thought that was, there was definitely some promise in there for sure.
There were some hits, some misses, but all in all, he might come back and.
Yeah, that last one was the direction, I think, for Clear Banshee. All right, next one. We've got another one from another one from. You can't send them.
Oh, is this the same guy?
Yeah,
is this the same guy?
Yeah. All right.
What the fuck?
All right, let's. You can't do 2 demos in a week. Maybe next week we'll look at that one. But
yeah, okay, hang on. We've got more.
Let's pick an old one just to replace that, so we stick to the 10 demos. So
okay, let's listen to. I'm going to go with the worst name here, Patricia Baloghi.
Patricia Baloghi.
Hi, my name is Patricia Baloghi. I am an artist, producer, and house DJ. I have opened for Gabro and the Golden Pondley as a performer and DJ at the House some years in New York. I have done guest mixes for the BBK Complex Oak Fair Musical, where I was also featured. I think I am really cool and I want to be cool. Please listen to my music. Thank you.
Well, she does say here, I really enjoyed the sound of Dream Catalogue and I feel my self-produced EP Womb is perfect for the label. So,
wow.
See if it is or not.
Let's see, Patricia.
Womb.
Womb. Womb, 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 womb.
Pretty Dream Catalogue, do you think?
No.
Yeah, I'm not quite getting where the Dream Catalogue references here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any kind of Dream Catalogue reference here.
Alright, let's skip into this. Well, I'm bopping my head to it anyway. Okay, I like the reverb clap that cuts off like that. I'm gonna nick that for a tune actually. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, the music doesn't fit in any sense really.
Yeah, I mean, if that is actually like legitimately your voice, that's you have like a really good voice. I will say that.
Yeah.
But this feels way too like this feels like early 2000s music. This feels like it's from like 2002, 2003. Like I feel like I just listened to this because I clicked on the wrong download on fucking what's it called now? You know, the really old one.
Really old what?
Fuck, I'm having a brain fart moment. I can't believe I'm being this dumb.
Yeah.
Napster, that's the one.
All right. Yeah. But yeah, like, yeah. I mean, kind of a nice voice and everything, but doesn't really fit.
Yeah, the beat needs something happening to it.
Yeah.
Okay, Patricia Baloghi, I am sorry, but your music is kind of shit.
She's got 10,000 followers on Instagram as well.
Holy shit, she's Instagram famous.
Yeah. Well, I guess semi-famous. I don't know, like, there's a... It looks like her EP's already released, actually. So
yeah, she looks a bit like she looks like she's a bit of a project, if that makes sense.
Project. Alright. So if you want to listen to the rest of that, you can go and find Womb by Patricia Balog on wherever.
Patricia Baloghi!
Alright, next.
Next we have Alejandro Thompson. He sent us a demo saying, I don't know what the fuck this is. Neither do we, so let's listen to it.
Alright, so it's on Catalina. So
Catalina, Echo 5 by Catalina.
well, he's tagged it as hard vapor, so that's instant points off. I mean, it would be points if it was like 2015 or 16, but you know, that was 5 years ago now. Well, it's another head bopper.
Yeah, it's an interesting drum pan, but what is it beyond just an interesting drum pan? Where's the music? Drums are nice, but where's the music, yo? This is just a drum loop. You just uploaded a fucking drum loop.
No, this is something subtle going on. It's like building up subtly.
No, Paul, stop. I just realised he made a chronic flaw.
What?
That snare is the default FL Studio snare. That is like not even like produced.
Well, what's wrong with default sounds?
I'm sorry, but like the default FL Studio snare just sounds like complete ass in my opinion. Like it's just like it's disgusting.
I like default sounds sometimes. I think it's funny to use them. But yeah,
okay, but that's...
I would suggest, you know, maybe flesh this out into something else.
Yeah, this isn't done. This isn't done.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that noise?
That's me messing around with a Zippo. Sorry if it's coming through on the thing.
No, there's like some weird like whining noise, but I don't know if I don't know. Whatever.
Okay.
All right.
So next up we got Biomass, White Rice for Brekkie.
White Rice for Brekkie. All right, let's listen to this.
Hell yeah, let's listen to this shit. I've been so fucking studying. This is already
Big Hoovers.
Please tell me this doesn't just dissolve into jungle. I don't want this to be jungle. Please don't.
He looks like he's from Liverpool. I thought he's
Points off for being racist to Scousers.
Is this just anti-Scouse wave?
Yeah, this is a racist submission.
Yeah, this is like straight up like I'm gonna report this on SoundCloud for hate speech. Click that report button right now.
You can't Scousers. We don't have oh, this is cool. I like the guitar color, but just I can ignore the anti-Scouse stuff for the guitar. Yeah, this is a weird tune, but
I like it.
It's got like a very man, the fucking samples.
This is a metal tune. I love it.
I actually like the samples now that I'm starting to get into it. You know where this would be good for though? I reckon I've got to pause next to the samples of Sending Me West. Yeah, I think that'd be a pretty good one for Butsy in future, actually. So I'm gonna, I'm actually gonna forward this to Let me get the demo. Shit, we were meant to get Butsamet on with us this week. Hold on.
The satanic leader himself. We need to hit him up. We need to get that shit on the go.
No, he's not satanic. He's a Baphomet. Butsamet.
He's a Baphomaniac, dude.
I'm just trying to get this their email for Futuro Butziano. Hold on, let me pull it up.
Futuro Butziano.
Because I actually think that would be pretty spot on for their label.
Yeah.
And you know,
send it their way.
I think like Butsy in future's like, you know, on the path towards the Dream Catalogue pyramid as such, so I think it's a good like starting point.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that's the right kind of energy as well.
Yeah. Alright, I've forwarded that to Butsamet for consideration. But I think that was pretty solid, to be honest.
Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, like the guitar, that was really good. Alright, next.
Okay, next up we have Eternity Devil with Human Machine.
Alright, go and read that out.
Dear White Banksy, or whatever you go by when you read this email.
Nameless them. Dear Nameless.
Please roast the shit out of me. Thank you in advance. With love, your girl Rainbow Banksy. Oh, I'm so fucking fabulous.
And the track's gone. So
the track's fucking gone. The track doesn't even exist.
Yeah. What you might have done is put it on private and forgot to put the private share link. So you have to send it in for next
You
week.
fucking idiot!
Alright, last one.
You fucking idiot!
Oh, never mind.
This
last one hasn't even sent a SoundCloud link. He just sent a big fucking stupid email.
And another one. No, this guy doesn't even send his phone number. He sends his dad's phone number.
What? Hold on. What?
Look right at the bottom of the email.
Wait, come on, we gotta read this. He did send a YouTube link. Maybe we should look at it.
My name is Gustavo Rafael Coelho. I am a music composer. I have more than 530 original songs to offer to a record label for other artists to interpret them.
Oh, so he's not even like giving us his own music. He's giving us songs that he's made, and then he's wanting other artists to be inspired by his shit.
I don't know what interpret them means. I guess maybe it means release them. His English isn't very good.
Thanks for analyzing this.
Is he like literally like offering 530 songs here? Is that what he's saying? Wait, hold on. Do a bit of a speedier Brazilian accent because like his email's fucking massive and I can't sit here listening to that for like 5 minutes.
Here is my demos playlist. Out of the many playlists I promote there, I recommend to start listening to my songs. The other playlists still need the song performance retouch or replay. My music at occasions has won awards or reached finals or semi-finals at the Music Academy Awards or Song of the Year, both online, sometimes participated by invitation, sometimes by will. Last time this year, the award took me by surprise. Thank you for analyzing this possibility. I am available to work with you forever this way. I can do average 1 or 2 songs a week when accelerating my productivity. The idea is you choose me to start sending you the original demos via MP4 or MP3, to view via email while working by replaying my songs. If you like my previous songs, I'm composing new ones at home for you to do the rest of the music process and necessary to be interpreted by other ballads. I do ballads, alternate music, minimalist music, pop music, a list of them, etc. You can email me or mail me. My email, my actual home address that I provide in a fucking demos email.
Mail me.
is somewhere in Florida. So if you're in the
I thought you was Brazilian for some reason.
If you're in the Ocala, Florida area, look out for Gustavo over here because he's making moves.
His phone number is listed after that.
Yeah, his dad's phone number ends in 100.
Okay. And he's got his LinkedIn here for us to check out.
His LinkedIn. That's his fucking LinkedIn.
Alright. police record, clean, guaranteed. Clean police record, that's good. That's what you want to know when you get a demo. So he worked in Target from March 2006 to August 2018.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he worked at Target for 12 and a half years.
Yeah, and now I guess he's got a BA in audio production. So
apparently one day he made 4 songs a day. Ooh.
So he made 101 songs in 2018. Okay, we got to listen to one song. Let's look up this guy.
Didn't he link his fucking YouTube?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Alright, let's see what he's got.
I wouldn't usually accept the YouTube link because we've got to go sound.
Okay, this looks like the Gustavo Coelho Music Library.
Oh, this is pretty,
Wow, we stumbled across something here. This guy has like literally hundreds of songs, and like some of them have like.
Come on, let's pick.
Some of them have like 4 views. Okay, swimming in the wrong river was one that I saw.
I can't even
top
see.
right.
The thing with every single song in here has the same picture, so I can't even see one. I'm just gonna pick.
Okay,
I'll pick Mirror of Wishes. Okay.
Okay, let's see.
Well, you can play the piano.
You can play the piano.
Oh, maybe you can't. I don't know. I'm wondering if he actually can play the piano or
not. Sounds self-taught.
No, I said he had a BA in music or something. I don't know what that means though.
Bachelor's?
Let's listen to something else.
Yeah, let's listen to a new example.
There's literally no point in reading out titles because, like, it's just...
Some of them don't even have fucking titles.
Yeah, so I can't even see which one you're talking about because it's just a big stream of text.
Okay, so the last one was out 2 months ago. 3 ways to say it that it has no views.
Okay, so
let's be the first. We are the first people to listen to this song ever.
Yeah. That's piano again.
It seems to be his thing. Just piano.
Okay, what about, do you want to listen to Telepathic Verberia?
Okay, let's listen to Telepathic Verberia.
If this is piano again, though, I'm just clicking it off now. Right, yeah, okay. So he's just a pianist, basically.
He's just peeing all over the place.
Right, okay.
Honestly. Well, we had quite a few hits on that section, actually.
I think let's do one more demo because we need someone to sign us out, and that wasn't satisfactory.
Okay, I see the White Fang.
The White Fang, okay. And he didn't send the thing.
Oh my god, what the hell is his fucking... He sent it as a .mp3 attached.
Okay, no, that's not how you do it.
Go on, pick another one.
Julia Thompson.
Go on,
no, you didn't send us a link. You fucking idiot.
Did she know? Oh,
it's a Dropbox.
Right.
Yo, you gotta get your shit together. Brian Kang.
Alright.
Hello, Dream Catalogue. My name is Brian Kang. I'm an EDM hip-hop DJ producer from Taipei, Taiwan. I have an unsigned track that I'd like to release on your label. The track is called Take You Home. I believe the song fits where you live. I like to say my style is a mixture of marshmallow, Kago, and millennial. You can listen to my track by clicking on the link if you don't know how the fuck it works. But I don't know how it works because I deleted the fucking song like I did. Shit. Woo!
Let's pick another one.
Urban Boy. Let's go Urban Boy. Hello, BF team. I'm sorry I wrote BF instead of DC. I just made something lo-fi track type. I hope you guys will like it.
Alright, let's listen to the shit.
Okay. This fucking deleted!
Next. Come on, we just need the
Alan Hipson. Alan Hipson. Didn't fucking do it properly!
Yeah, next.
Lucky number. Let's see you.
Where's lucky number?
A bit further up. Just a bit further up. A bit further up. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. One that's finally... Please tell me this one's uploaded. Please tell me it's uploaded.
Nope.
Oh, for fuck's sake, man! This is already fucking shite. Let's go
Boris.
with
Jump
yeah.
Boris.
Let's go with Boris. Hi, I am a self-taught musician from Poland, working predominantly with different styles of electronic music. I am inspired by Listen to my
Alright, we've got one. Let's pick a tune.
Posh Youth.
Posh Youth. Great. This is our last demo for the week.
Let's see what DJ Some Guest has.
Imagine if it just blew our minds now.
Well, it looks like it's a fucking long ass intro, so.
Nice little chord change there.
That's a text-to-speech voice there.
Yeah, man, I'm really like not into text to speech at this point. It's like way too overdone.
Keep it human.
As are these drum sounds.
These obvious trap drums that are just from last decade, not this fucking decade.
Kind of like it, but yeah, it's not gonna go on Catalogue, to be honest.
That looks like this would be the greatest thing ever made if it came out in 2004.
Yeah,
But as it
like,
stands right now, it's just so dated.
I would like sample the little like chord progression thing he's got on here, and I'd like flip it into something else myself because I kind of like that part, but yeah. I don't know, I kind of like, I'm getting into this one now. You know what, let's give this guy another chance, let's listen to one more tune.
Okay, let's listen to
I think he's got a good like melodic sensibility actually. Go on, pick another one.
That's Untitled 2.
Untitled 2. I was skipping to it. You know what? I reckon this guy's alright.
Yeah, this one's a lot better.
It's kind of like weird. What's he called?
DJ Some Guest, I believe that's what his name is. DJ
Some Guest. Okay. Yeah.
DJ Some Guest.
I feel like that's his voice because it was the same voice on the last track, wasn't it?
He's actually using his own voice. That's good. That's good.
Alright, listen to one more tune.
Let's go.
Pressure. There you go.
I like this.
See if he's got any new tunes, because this is a bit of an old one actually. Alright, he had a new tune one day ago, let's listen to that. So he's going for the old school techno. I think that's definitely his voice because it's been on every track now.
Yeah.
Oh, this is still the one. I'm just gonna flick through real quick.
Going a bit too deep into the whole techno breakbeat 90s direction here.
Oh wait, what's this?
This is 4 years ago, so apparently that's what he was doing before.
So he's like, he's done a little bit of everything there. So yeah, I think he's someone to keep an eye on. I'll give him a follow. Yeah.
It's good for he's got some tracks.
Alright, let's just pick a fucking random tune from him then for to sign us out. That one's fine. Okay. So
until next week.
Yeah.
Peace.
Steal my line. Until next week. Peace.